This is Ray Mofield. We're talking from a home in Sharp, Kentucky, the home of Mrs. Evie Penniger Sheppard. And she is the mother of Mrs. Woodrow Hill, Lida. And it's a real pleasure to be in her home and to see how vigorous and well she looks this morning. Miss Sheppard, would you mind telling us when you were born?
1892.
1892, so that's 8
would
years.
Make me 92 this coming November.
92 years old. Well, that you've had a long and
well, I've had a long and good
satisfying
life.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Well, that's very good. Could you tell us your mother and father?
Yes, my mother was a Newton, and my father.
Was she kin to Hazel Newton?
Hazel Newton's was her niece. And my daddy was Nay Penniger, William Penniger's son.
And you were born actually in Trigg County?
Yeah, I was born in Trigg County.
When did you move to Marshall?
I moved to Marshall County in 1908.
So you were a rather young girl.
Yeah, I was 15, I think, thereabout.
Did you go to school any in Marshall County?
I went to school at Ball Knob.
Now, Ball Knob, was that in the Aurora area?
Oh, no, that was in the
Birmingham.
area of Branchburg and Birmingham, between Branchburg and Birmingham.
Well, that's good.
I was saying, I went to William Gillihan was my teacher.
Very good. I don't know if I've come up with that name before or not.
Well, William's been dead quite a while.
Do you know any farther back for these genealogists? You know, they're running wild in the country now, kind of like crabgrass.
Yes, I know it.
So, do you know any of your grandparents, maybe?
Oh, yeah, yes, I remember all four of my grandparents well. I remember my great-grandparents, one of them.
What was...
My great-grandparents was a nun.
A nun? Well, there's been a governor named Nun.
Yes,
so
I know it.
You're from a famous lineage.
I don't know about him. I don't know if they was in relation or not.
Did your grandfather ever meet a fellow named Little?
Oh, yes, I remember hearing them talk of that.
Well, just tell us that
little
story.
My mother told me that he met a man during the war. Civil War, would it be?
I would imagine, yes.
Yes. And this man Little said he had the least name of anybody in the world, he thought. And my great-granddaddy said, no, you haven't said my name is Little. Said, my name is None. Just
none
none
is
of me.
Smaller than Little.
None is smaller than Little.
Well, that is a very humorous
I've
story.
heard that. My mother's told me that, and I remember my great-granddaddy that said that.
What was Birmingham like when you were growing up?
Just an old muddy Birmingham. And I don't guess there was a paved street ever in it, was there?
Well, I don't know that I was ever in Birmingham.
Well, no, maybe not.
I grew up in Hardin, and that's so far
it
away.
It was right on the river bank.
Yeah. But you had a high school. And a fellow named Mark Clayton told me they used to have showboats come to Birmingham. It was kind of a culture center.
Yes, they did, but I never did go to any of the shows there. And I don't know, Bob Heath run a store there. And
well, let's talk about...
So did Luther Goheen.
Luther Goheen ran a store. Well, good. All right, what did you like to play when you were young?
Oh, just anything come up, I guess.
Did you play skip the rope?
Well, I've jumped the rope a lot of times. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Hopscotch?
No, I never did play that.
Never played
My
that.
kids did. The children around played it.
Like to ride horses.
Yeah, I used to ride horses.
How did you meet your husband?
Well, at a party, I guess I'd say.
You went to what they call play parties?
Yes, play parties and dances. And,
Some square dances
yeah,
they had then.
Yeah, they had square dances. I went to Dillon Services to a square dance. I guess that's where I met him the first time.
Was it love at first sight?
Oh, no. No, not hardly, I don't guess.
You used a little judgment about it and wanted to find out a little more about him.
Well, I think that'd be reasonable to find out more about it.
I think so too. But
Yeah.
I've heard of love at first sight.
I have too, yeah. And I've heard of it didn't last.
Yeah, it didn't last very long. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your husband's name?
Claude Sheppard.
What did he do?
He farmed.
And did you help him? Did you work on the farm?
Well, I think I did. Yeah, I plowed and hired, sowed wheat, and done just about everything except mow. He never would let me mow because he thought I might get hurt mowing.
Mowers are dangerous, of
Yes.
course.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever work in any tobacco?
Well, I've worked in tobacco just about all my early life.
Were you
I guess.
afraid of those big hornworms?
Well, no. No.
My wife she was kind of mincy about that, and she'd pull them off and lay them on the ground and kill them with a stick. Isn't that terrible?
Well, I just mashed their head, throw them down.
Well, very good. Did you ever leave this area? A lot of people went off to Detroit and
Oh,
worked
no,
a while.
I never was. No, I've lived in Marshall County and Trigg County all my life.
After your marriage, you lived near Birmingham.
No, I lived at Heights, what they called Heights.
That's over toward the Callaway County line, isn't it?
Well, not too far. You know where Union Ridge is?
Yes.
Well, just below there, about 2 miles. Right on the creek.
Did you have any children besides Lida?
Yeah, I have 2 daughters living and 2 sons dead.
Someone told me that you maybe were a Gold Star mother. That is, you lost a son in World War II.
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
And his name was what?
Daniel.
And what branch of service was he in? Army, Navy, Air
Navy, here in the Navy.
In the Navy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you remember anything about a ship he may have served on?
Daniel Hoyster was the only one that I heard him speak about.
Mm-hmm.
He was on a merchant ship.
Yes. And
He was on LST when he got killed.
when he was killed, he was on a landing ship tank.
Yes. He was killed in the English Channel.
Right. Do you have any grandchildren?
Well, I have 2
Boys or girls?
girls.
And
Emily Wells and Etta Faye Farmer.
do they live close enough to you get to see them?
Yes, I see them every few days. Live down the road just a little ways.
So they're in Marshall County also.
Well, they're in McCracken County, but,
But it's not far from
No,
Sharp.
no,
You're
it's-
near the line anyway.
well, not very far.
All right, could you tell us something about the customs, how they may have changed since you were?
Oh, quite a bit.
What did you do for amusement after you married? Did you ever go to a place and sit till bedtime?
Oh, yes. Several times. Yeah, several times.
I know my parents used to go next door, and we'd sit with Van and Hattie Ratliff So Hattie would always make popcorn balls. So I like to go there. I thought that's the best thing I'd ever eaten in my lifetime.
Was Dewey served his wife. Was she a Ratliff?
No. Borders.
Yeah, Borders.
She was a Borders. The Ratliffs came from around Olive, so that wasn't too terribly far
Well,
from Aurora.
I used to hear of the Ratliffs, but I never did know any of them personally.
Of course, today we call the funeral homes and they take care of everything when one of our relatives dies, but it's my understanding that the neighbors did a lot in the early days.
Well, they did, yeah, used to. Well, I suppose they had to. I reckon Fred Philbeck was the first undertaker that ever come out and get the corpse and take them in town, and keep them.
Were you ever involved in helping when someone died?
Yeah, a few times. I was.
What do they call that? Laying them out, or?
Yes.
Tell us what you did.
Well, there was nothing much to do, only just when they passed away, just lay them out and
you washed
cover them up. But I have, yeah.
And
washed and helped put.
Kind of trim
Rachel
their fingernails,
Lovett.
maybe.
You know John Lovett.
Yes.
His sister. I was present when she died, and I laid her out. And then I was present when Mae Price died, and Ms. Henson and me made her clothes and put them on her and got her all ready.
Then I guess someone in the neighborhood made a coffin, did they?
Well, no, I don't remember of that happening.
You could go to the Heath store, I guess, in Benton and buy a coffin back then.
Yes, that's where, at that time, that's where they went and got the coffins. But they'd go there and get them and bring them out, and we'd put them in the casket. Yeah.
As a little boy, I can remember going with my dad, and we'd sit up all night in our neighborhood. Did they do that in your neighborhood?
Well, sure, they have ever since I could remember.
Stay with the family until the body was buried.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Elwood Gordon said, "I just wish I was as good a man as he is." That was his daddy. He just wished that he was as good a man as his daddy. So I don't know.
The men dug the graves then.
Oh, yes, yeah. We used to have a bell at Union Ridge, and when we heard that bell ring, we knew somebody would be there that day at Union Ridge.
So that was a signal to people to inquire.
Yeah, to know, let people know that that had happened.
What was where did you get your mail over in that area?
Well, when I married, up until, I don't remember what year, we got on route there. Charlie Prince carried our mail on Route 5.
That is out of Benton, or?
Yes, out of Benton.
I remember they had 2 RFDs out of Hardin when I was growing up. They were Gardner brothers, Henry Gardner and Rudy Gardner.
I believe Mr. Sims was our first mail carrier that I remember. And that's been a long time ago.
But was there ever a post office back over in that area besides Birmingham or Benton?
Now, there used to be a post office between Birmingham and Benton, but I don't think it lasted very long, and they called it Paul Post Office.
Paul?
Yeah, and...
I'd never heard that before. You've given us some good information there.
No, that's been a long time ago, I guess.
Before you married?
Oh, yeah, a long time before I thought about getting married. Let me think, yes. Well, George Holland, Dad. They had the post office was there. That was Uncle Marion Holland.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but it might have been, George must have been very small if he was here then.
Yes, I
He
know.
was very small at that time, I guess.
Well, any other big events that stand out in your memory as being exciting times?
I can't think now of anything.
Were there ever any murders around? Or?
Well, I remember of some. When I was a small child, I must have been about 7 or 8. Two boys killed a little boy out from Birmingham about 2 miles. By the name of Holland, I believe. One of them was. But I don't remember anything much about it. And I remember of, well, I don't know, 3 or 4 maybe.
What about Denny Mill Ford? Anything that happened?
Yes, I used to go to Denny Mill Ford every once in a while. And it was a place that several men would go there through the summer season and sit and talk. There was a spring there, and they would go there and sit and talk. So my husband never did, but some of our neighbors would go there.
Kind of like my dad used to sit around the courthouse and whittle and talk and swap knives.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. I don't know. Times.
They had barbecues there.
Yeah, they had barbecues there. And people would go there and have dinner, take dinner and go be together. And they'd have baptizing there. That is the baptizing place. I don't know.
Wonder what they charged for barbecue.
I don't know. I never did go to a barbecue.
I heard your son-in-law, Woodrow, say that he ate one time for $0.25 at a restaurant.
Yeah. Well, they used to have barbecues, and but my parents never would let us kids go because they didn't think they'd nearly always wind up with somebody fighting.
Didn't Mr. Collins get killed?
Yes, Mr. Collins got killed at the barbecue.
Didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's ask you about any trips you may have made back in those. How you traveled? Did you?
Oh, we had to travel on horses or in a wagon.
Mm-hmm.
All my life, nearly, we had to do that.
Now, you had to go to the county seat every now and then, I guess, to pay your taxes or something.
Well, they used to collect a long time ago, they did, up until about 1914.
You mean the tax commissioner came out to your house?
Yes, he'd come and collect taxes if they hadn't already paid them in. If they was late about getting them, well, he'd come out and get them.
I'd never heard that story before.
And my husband paid. He had never registered, he had never voted.
Uh-huh.
And he had to pay back taxes. They had him to pay back taxes, a year or 2 year back taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when he was 21 or 2.
Back then they had a poll tax, they called it, didn't they?
Yes, yeah, that's what they called it.
Would you mind telling us where you went to get married?
Oh, I went to Paris, Tennessee.
That must have been a popular spot. That's where my dad and mother were married.
Well, Nina McWaters, and her husband went there to get married.
Yes.
I have their picture that I cut out of the paper. They married about 3 days before we did at the same place. Same man.
Uh-huh. Was how did you go? Did you drive a buggy or?
We drove a buggy from Ball Knob to Hardin.
And got on
the train.
Got on the train
yes,
at Hardin.
Yes,
Yeah.
got on the train and went there.
Boy, I love those train days.
January 2nd.
In fact, when I left to go to the Navy in World War II. I got on the train at Hardin and rode off.
Well, I think that they should have the train yet. I think they ought to.
You know, it nearly killed me when they pulled up that line from Hardin to
Well,
Paducah.
it hurt me too. Yes. And
we had here at Sharp, you had a station just over at Elva, didn't you?
Yeah. My daddy made some of the ties. It's in the old railroad over there now, I guess, that he made years and years ago when I was a small child.
I'd like to ask you, did you go to church at any particular place in that area?
Well, Union Ridge is about the only place. When I lived in Trigg County, I was too small to walk that far. There wasn't any church in reach. So.
Do you remember any of the preachers' names, maybe?
Well, yes. You know Bud Cross. He's one of our preachers.
All right.
Yeah. Brother Tubbs, I don't guess you ever remember him. He was one of the first ones I ever remember of preaching at Union Ridge.
I remember in a school book reading one time that when the kids went to sleep at church, they'd walk along with a rabbit's foot that they'd nailed on something like a tobacco stick, and reach over and scratch them on the head and wake them up.
I never did hear that.
That is in one of my school books.
Yeah. Well, no, I never did.
Of course, that went back to New England primer days, I guess.
Well, it must have.
You remember any of the home medical remedies when you were growing up? Did you ever wear a bag of aspidity around your neck?
Yeah, one time I remember when I was very small. I just remember that. One of our neighbor children died with diphtheria, and that's what that was for.
What did you do for the hives?
Well, give them catnip tea. Think I heard you talking to a woman a few days ago about that.
Yeah. Well, I've always thought of that because that's what my mother did to me. I had to drink catnip tea.
Some children just take that and drink it like it was good.
I suppose you didn't think it was all that good.
No, it didn't seem that it would be to me, but it didn't taste bad.
You remember when you got your first car, when you made your first ride in a car?
My first ride in a car? Yeah, I remember who I rode with the first time I ever rode in a car. Dent Edwards.
Dent Edwards.
Yeah. Dent Edwards.
And where did you go? Just a neighborhood or go to Benton? Or?
I went to Heights to vote for Dalton Cross.
Yeah, well, good. You remember every single detail about it, don't you? Well, that's good.
Well, just about, I guess I do. I tell my children that's all I've got to think about, what happened a long time ago.
And that's the most interesting time that ever was to me.
You know, when you're by yourself, you don't have anybody to talk to. So you think about what has happened.
It's been very interesting talking to you this morning, Miss Sheppard. Do you have any last thing you'd like to say? Any particular statement to make?
I don't think so, only, no, I don't think I do.
Well, that half hour went in a hurry to me.
Well,
it's been a pleasure, though, Miss Sheppard, being in Sharp, in your home,
I've enjoyed it.
and talking with you. This is Ray Mofield on the Oral History Report. We return you now to our studios in Benton.